So you do everything right. You go to the gym, you exercise daily, you take self-defense classes, you're at the gun range, you're doing everything that you think you can do to be prepared for self-defense if you need it. But let's talk about how prepared you really are. What are your self-protection skills like? I'm talking about the mindset. I'm talking about the awareness levels. Today, we're going to dive into it. We're going to take a small test and we're going to rate your skills. Welcome back to Everyday Self-Awareness. Today, we'll find out just how prepared you are. Let's get into it. So 5 questions and a grading system 1 through 5. 5 being the strongest, 1 being the worst or the weakest, okay? So 5 questions, basic questions, okay? And I want you to answer, grade yourself on these questions, not just on one event, but in general, okay? So we get a really good understanding of where you're at, okay? So get a notepad, get a piece of paper, get a pen, get yourself so you can jot this down, then we'll add it up at the end and see where you're at. So first question, and all these questions I've gone over in different videos, but awareness, when you transition from one environment to another, how good are you at taking notice of what's going on? Because often when we transition from one environment to another, we're so hyper-focused on what we've got to do next when we change into that environment. For an example, you walk out of a building from the gym, the only thing you're focused on is getting to your car to get home, okay? How good are you at taking a really good look at what's going on and scanning around on a 1 through 5, 5 being the best, when you have when you're transitioning from one environment to another? Give yourself a score on that one. Second question, phone distraction. Oh my goodness. How good are you at, if you've got to answer the phone and you're not at your desk at work or at home, because for the most part, when you're in an environment like home at work, that's not a problem, right? But you're moving, okay? You're walking down the street. How good are you at not getting so distracted on the phone that you're not paying attention to what's going on? You don't see that dog walking at you that's off leash that could be a threat, okay? You don't see that car coming down the road as you're about to pass to the other side of the road, okay? Phone distraction is a huge one. I want you to answer that 1 through 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the weakest. Positioning. So you've changed, this is the third question. You've just walked into the grocery store, you did a really good job at checking out your environment, but then you're in line, okay? You've got a couple people in front of you, you've got a couple people behind you, okay? But you're thinking about, well, what do I have to do when I get home, okay? Boy, this line's taking forever. But you're so hyper-focused on getting through that line that you're not looking around, okay? You could be at the gas pump, okay? Same thing, waiting to get gas. Rate yourself on a 1 through 5 when you're in a position. When you're in a position, are you paying attention to what's going on around you? Okay. Gut instinct. This is the 4th question. This is a big one too. And I generally find women are much better at this. When you are in an environment or a scenario or an event, or you're talking to somebody where all of a sudden you got that gut feeling, hey, this person's getting perturbed at what I'm talking about. How good are you at listening at your gut? When your gut tells you something that could possibly be wrong, do you notice it and just let it go because your ego doesn't let you take notice of it? Okay? Gut instinct can save your life. Too often we let that gut instinct go to the wayside, especially men. They let their egos get in their way. I can handle whatever happens to me. Okay? I want you to honestly answer that. A 1 through 5, 5 being the strongest. Gut instinct, number 4. 5th question. Exit plan. Okay? Especially when we walk into a new event, a different environment. We walk in to a new restaurant. Do you really take a good look around and run some scenarios through your mind? Hey, if this happened, if a fire started, or for whatever, maybe it's not even a fire, somebody pulls the fire alarm, okay? And it's not a real fire. Whatever the reason is, I've got to get out of that building. Do you have a good idea of how you're going to exit? And even if you do find those exits, do you think to yourself, okay, this exit's quicker to me, it's in radius, or it's a lot closer to me, but what happens is everybody piles into this one. Make sure you've got a backup plan, okay? Exits are important. 1 being the weakest, 5 being the most important. I want you to grade yourself. So let's go over this. When you go through and add this all up, okay? And again, this isn't about being paranoid. It's really, I just really want you to take a good look at yourself. And are you as really good at self-protection skills as you think you are? Because again, you could be doing everything right. You could be taking care of yourself physically, going to the gym all the time, running, biking, working out, doing martial art classes, taking self-defense courses, okay? But if your self-protection skills are not up to par, okay, it's useless. Self-protection by far is the most important skill set that anybody should have. Okay, if you scored a 20, anywhere between 20 to 25 points, you're paying attention. You're keeping it sharp. You're on task. So anywhere between 20 to 25. Anything between 12 to 19 points, you've got some awareness, and you're doing a pretty good job, but there's definitely some room for improvement, okay? Definitely, okay? And anything between 5 and 11, folks, you got to get it together. You really do. As I've mentioned, you can have great self-defense skills, the physical skill set, okay? You could be really good at in the boxing ring if you're taking boxing or something along those lines. But if you're walking around town with your head in the clouds, on the phone, not paying attention, walking into stores, hyper-focused on what you've got to do, you're going to get yourself possibly into trouble. It's the best thing that we can do for us. It's the best investment that we can do for ourselves and our loved ones when we do the mind reps, okay? When we mentally prepare ourselves for every day. Again, I'm not talking about you being paranoid. I'm just talking about us being smart about changing our environments, going through daily life tasks and events, and keeping ourselves safe. Hey, as always, I'm so glad you stopped by. I hope you got a good score on this. If it's something that you need to work on, start working on it. But we'll see you at the next video. Stay safe. Take care.